Do you feel like your business is running your life instead of the other way around? I'm Roy Castleman. I built multiple seven-figure companies, worked across continents, and coached high-performing entrepreneurs. But I've also been completely burnt out. At one point, I was barely seeing my daughter, drowning in stress, and one step away from walking away from it all. That's when I made a decision to build a business and a life that works for me. The journey became Elevate 360, a system to help business owners reclaim their time, find their energy again, and get back in control, without sacrificing growth. And this podcast, Power Movers, is where I share real stories behind that shift. Each week you'll hear from entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders who've walked through the fire and come out the other side with clarity, courage, and a system that works. If you're ready to build a business that gives you more life instead of taking it away, you're in the right place. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Power Movers, wherever you are in the world. Today I'm with Angiras, and Angiras is a very interesting lady. I'm not even going to try and say the word now because I always get it wrong. Angiras can explain what she does. And I've been working with Angiras for some time now and really fascinated by her career, her history, her story. So welcome, Angiras.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do first of all, and then I want to go back.
That impossible to pronounce name is kinesiology.
That's it. I've just got a mental block against it. Yeah.
Kinesiology.
Yeah, but you do so much more than that, don't you?
Yes, kinesiology is like when you take it down to its bare bones, it's literally just muscle response testing. It's like the muscle's like a switch, it's either on or it's off. And if it's not on when it should be or it's not off when it should be, that indicates that there's an imbalance. And the imbalance can be emotional, it can be nutritional, it can be structural, or it can be energetic. I'm going now deeper into how it can be genetic and all of that kind of stuff, so we can get quite deep into it. But you can, once you've got the muscle testing, you can go everywhere with it.
And what I love about how you approach life in the world is you're also a total learner. You're learning all the time. But let's go back now. You've got into this field for a couple of reasons, but I want to go back right to your childhood because I find that fascinating. Tell us a bit about that, and then we can move on from there.
Yeah, so I was born and brought up in India, a international township called Auroville, which is where my surname comes from. And basically, it's a city in the making with the intention of human unity in the principles of basically transforming human consciousness and the planet. So it was growing up into that. It really started with nothing. It was really a bunch of mad hippies on a barren plateau with no trees, trying to build this city in the middle of nowhere with absolutely nothing. So they all sounded a bit nuts, but actually it's 50 years on now, or even more than 50 years on now, and they've got like 40 million trees, they've got a whole infrastructure, they've got everything there. So it's still in progress and it's still happening.
Yeah.
For me, it was very small community living for me at the time, because we lived in, everybody knew everybody. We went from 500 people to 1,000 people to 2,000 people. So you grow and you know everybody and you're growing up into that, and children are being born. But there was this notion that children are free, children are able to experiment and explore themselves, and they're the future.
How was that? That sounds like a magical childhood. How did you feel going through it?
For me, it was normal, right?
Yeah, I guess that's very true, right?
All I knew. That was all I knew. Obviously, we were told we were the sun-eyed children of the dawn. So there was a little bit of, this is the future, you guys have got to achieve something. But at the same time, it was everybody just trying to learn how to get along with each other, learning how to, live together, cooperate, build something, and actually really tangibly build something. And you have this incredible utopian ideal in front of you of, if you take the John Lennon song Imagine, right, in a way that encapsulates the whole ethos of the place. And imagine a place where nobody's in charge, right? So it's not like being led by a single leader. It's not being led by a very charismatic person who it's much more based on the ideals and dedicating yourself to a much higher ideal. And part of that basis in there was also this idea that actually we're transforming consciousness, and the place to transform consciousness is within our own cells and our own selves. And it's only through the work we do on ourselves and our contribution to the community and working together. But it's like that kind of blending of inside and outside.
So we're seeing so much more of that come into the world now, right? Especially in the last 2 years, especially since COVID. Don't let me swear here. But yeah, so you were well ahead of that train and tree. And what does it feel like now watching it all come in? Do you feel like you were maybe just a couple of years too early, or was it perfect?
I guess for me, it was perfect because I was living that. That was my whole ethos. So it feels like the world's caught up with us.
Yeah, sure.
But it's still in work in progress. We're not there yet. It's still,
Yeah.
we're not there yet. So
It's
there's the idea.
it's a journey, right? It's a journey.
It is a journey. I don't know that you ever actually reach the end, because evolution being what it is, it's always the next thing. So humankind is not really the final top. You then get the kind of the Superman, the next version of us, which is like the psychic being, which is perhaps much more intuitive and
Yeah.
in a completely different thing. So
It's amazing. Like you just hit the nail on the head. That was normal for me. Yeah, that was just my life, right? I grew up, my father used to move a lot. I went to 13 different junior schools, and we didn't stay in the same house for more than 3 to 6 months. And now that you say that, it's probably the first time I've actually even thought this. That was normal for me. Yeah, and
yeah.
I didn't realize until my parents divorced and we stayed in Durban for many years after that. I didn't realize what the world considered normal. And so it's like, what is normal really? It's just it's where you are and how you do things, and it's your normal rather than other people's normal. So let's move on a little bit. You're growing up in this utopian idea, and you got married. You give us just.
I had because the kind of the main thing there was around education for me, in the sense that actually, because it was such a small community, they were not necessarily professional teachers. It was parents doing their best, right, to educate, but within the framework of let's have a new type of education, let's do something different. So there were no exams, there were no tests, we didn't graduate, we didn't go from year to year, we didn't. But then there was a certain moment, it's like, but actually, how do you compare yourself to the outside world? And we were not an insular community. It's not like we were a cult in which the outside world is bad and you have no interaction with the outside world. We had plenty of interaction with the outside world. So it's like, how do you actually then frame what you know and how you are with the outside world? And so education became that, like the rest of the world lives off certificates and degrees and qualifications and that sort of stuff. So what do you do? So I basically, at a certain point, I was probably about 16, 17, I was trying to, okay, what am I doing with myself? I'd already been at that point, I'd done learned massage, I tampered with the idea of becoming a nurse. I did Reiki level 1, which was like right at the beginning of Reiki, before anybody really knew what it was. I was doing polarity therapy, I was doing all of those kind of things. But for me, education was it. And I decided I wanted to become a teacher. And therefore, to become a teacher, I had to go and qualify properly. So I did my O levels and my A levels by myself. I found my own teachers from within the community who were able to support me. But a lot of the time, I would just sit in my room by myself, studying and doing. But what actually I found for me then, which will become relevant later, is that I didn't realize how stressed that was making me. But then the dream was that then I was going to come over here and go to university and become a teacher and do the whole university thing. So that's where the whole concepts around power of manifestation was all there. Like, you just fix it, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and you make it happen. So I manifested all sorts of things because, as I said, I came to this country when I was 21 with a suitcase and 100 pounds. And I had been offered a place in a couple of universities, but they all wanted foreign fees, and I came from poor hippie parents who were not going to be able to pay the international foreign fees at the time. And I remember just standing there in front of the finance officer in the university and kind of going, I have a bank account in Holland. And he was like, well, that's it, you lived in Holland. And I was about to tell him, like, no. And this voice in my head said, be quiet. And so I got in on home fees.
Look at how you manifested that, right? Look at how you
And I did my degree in sociology and education with the intention of doing a final year in actual teacher training. But by this point, I realized that my upbringing did not equip me for central London teaching with classes of 30 kids. That was just not wasn't happening. In my second year, I went back home, got back together with my husband and married him so that he then came over here because I could see that there was still possibilities. I still needed to do another year of the teacher training. Potentially I'd go and do a master's. I could go and do all of those kind of things. But actually then I found that then I got a little bit sidetracked and I decided to start working. My first job was with a charity. So it was a disability charity called Leonard Cheshire Disability. And I worked in their head office as their information officer and then their information manager. And I got into a bit of knowledge management and things like that. And around into there, because of the charity, I ended up they do challenge events, and we were in a big exhibition hall in EdXL in London. And the lady in the stall next to us was doing kinesiology.
Okay.
And because of all the stress of kind of teaching myself and being quite self-sufficient as a young person, I had always little niggles and complaints and things like that. I always had things going on. So I would see the homeopath and I would see the reflexologist and I was always doing things, but I would often be going to the doctors as well. What's wrong with me? And because everybody knows everybody, the doctor was known. And my husband met my husband outside the health center one day and he just went, "What's wrong with her?" And he turned around and said, "She's a hypochondriac." So, hey, great. So from there, when I saw this kinesiologist and I saw her leaflet, and it was the whole thing, it was bringing everything together. It was the emotion, it was the structure, it was the nutrition. It was like, oh, that's everything in one place. It makes total sense because I had been seeing all of these things. And fairly instantly, so the first session, she's like, "Candida," and put me on some supplements and a restricted diet. And quite quickly, a lot of these symptoms started to disappear. And then I remember coming back from a session with her one day where she'd done something. She said, "I'm just going to clear all of this trauma in your system." And she just held some points. I walked home on air. I was like, literally felt like I was 2 inches off the ground as I came. I just felt so light, so free, so thing. And then I got pregnant with my first daughter, and I thought, actually, I don't want to be in the corporate world anymore. I wasn't really in the corporate world because charity is third sector rather than corporate, but it's still that same brownstone mentality. And that I want to create something which is more meaningful for my daughter. So I decided to study kinesiology. So that's what I'm off to do. But I had to wait. So she was a little bit older. So was a year old before I started to train. And I kept the job because I needed to pay for the course. And then you have to go through all the stages. So I probably stayed in the job a lot longer than I should have.
Yeah.
Until there was that kind of...
That's the thing. You go and you have an idea, you have a dream, you have a vision of where you're going to. And then from there, you actually need to take that step, don't you? How do I go and work for myself? So tell us when you decided that it was time. Give us that story.
To some extent, it was made a little bit for me, but I'd already started practicing. So I'd qualified in 2006. And so I then started in August of 2006, starting to see clients. And my husband had a shift pattern. We had 2 young children, and he had a shift pattern, which meant that he had either a Friday off or a Saturday off. And so I'd work in London 3 days a week. And then on a Friday or a Saturday, I would see all my kinesiology clients. And I would sometimes have 8 or 9 clients in a day. I'd be there from 8 till 7 in the evening or something. And it was amazing. I felt really high. I felt like I was in a really good place. And I was just a bit there was that tension then. Do I leave now? Have I got enough clients to make it work? But there's a security and all of that kind of stuff. So I didn't. And then they decided they brought in some corporate chap who decided to restructure the whole organization. So he made the entirety of head office plus all senior managers redundant. But when you do something like that, then there's a whole process that you go through, and it doesn't actually happen overnight. It's not 1 minute you're there, and not in the UK. You have to go through processes and procedures and consultations and stuff like that. And that took 18 months. And there were no voluntary redundancies. So I couldn't just say, that's it, I'm going. Please, can I have my redundancy money? By that point, I'd been with them for about 9-10 years. Please, can I have my redundancy? And I'm off. So I had to stick through it. And actually, the stress and the strain of that was really actually got me quite ill again. And in the end, I had the choice, because I'd started studying knowledge management, that I could have gone for head of knowledge management as a full-time post.
Yeah.
Or quit and start this. In that moment, somebody threw some tarot cards for me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Threw some tarot cards for me and said, you will have success if you go for the head of knowledge management. That will be fine, but it will be at the cost of the family life. Yeah. So I chose.
So let's just dig in now a little bit, because so many times that we do things, we get into things that help us, and then we go and teach it. I've done the Wim Hof stuff, and that really helped me. So I became an instructor and I taught that. I've done the business coaching stuff, and that's really how I got to where I am today. You've also had some personal challenges in terms of your own health. I know you suffered from migraines, and so this really, this is stuff that works from a real personal point of view. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Just in terms of how I use it for myself, it gives me perspective on foods that could be, particularly with my migraines, it was the foods that were triggering me, what I could eat and couldn't eat. It was trying to find the right nutritional supplements that would work, but it was also getting into the de-stressing of the things that really stressed me out.
Yeah.
And I haven't found anybody who does quite what I do. So even though I have a lot of colleagues, nobody does what I do. So I get plenty of people in with migraines, and I can resolve them quite easily.
But you need one person.
I need somebody who does what I do. So I've started training people now.
Good. Yeah, yes. And this has been an evolution. And we met at a business networking event some time ago. And since then, we've been working with a range of different business things. We started with the AI, and everyone was like, yeah, AI. And you dug into that. And yeah, how have you found that?
Yeah, whole kind of looking at what I do as a kind of a business, and that it needs to have business processes in place, and it needs to have business strategies in place, and I need to have structure in terms of how I'm marketing myself and all of that kind of stuff. This year has been a massive journey in that, because I've been winging it. I've been doing this for 20 years, but winging it. In a way, I say I've been doing it for 20 years, but I had to restart in a way 3 times, because when I actually got made redundant, which I think in the end was actually 2012, it was sort of around there. So it was like, even though I'd started practicing in 2006, it was 2012 before I was actually made redundant. By the end of that process, I was annihilated. I actually somehow had lost all my clients. I was barely functional. When I say that I had migraines, sometimes it went on for like weeks at a time. I was like, and you'd get one and you'd have 24 hours where you'd be functional, and then you'd go down with another one. And when you get into that state, even as a healer, even as a thing, it's like you start clutching at straws everywhere. Everything stresses you out. Everything, what is it, this that's causing it? Is it that? You start clutching at, running around in circles. So I had to restart from there, take myself back to base, start doing a lot of like deep meditation, being very calm and clean in my food. And it was about self-care before I could actually take care of other people. And then again, in that kind of manifestation thing, I wasn't advertising for people. I wasn't looking for people. They just started coming, and then they started coming back, and then they started coming back. So
that's such a big, sorry to interrupt, that's such a big piece, right? Yeah, that's such a life lesson for business owners. Right. And we've spoken about this again and again. It's right. What are you doing for yourself? Below everybody else, what are you doing for yourself? Because if you can't be energetically powerful today, then there's no ways you can give your best to the other people that you're trying to care for. We try to care for our families, we care for our clients, we care for the business, we care for everybody else before ourselves. And then suddenly it's not working, and it's just a snowball down the hill and grows and grows. And yeah, when you actually stop and you say, right now, what am I going to do for myself? At the moment, we've spoken and you're doing a morning routine that works for you. So do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so currently my morning routine is to wake up at 7 and then I do the one or other of his name, Joe Dispenza's meditation. So I do that for about 20 minutes. From there, I transition into Wim Hof breathing.
Mhm.
And into that, then I create a kind of a little bit space where it's actually silence, and I'm in a much more silent, focused place. So I'm allowing myself, because Joe Dispenza is lovely, but you're in a guided meditation, so you're doing what the Wim Hof then allows the clarity and that kind of silent space where you can just come into your center and just be really focused. So I do that. And then I did some work 2 or 3 years ago with somebody called William Whitecloud, which is all about going into your intuition and manifesting your day.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's also about making you have a bunch of choices that you've created for yourself of what you want to manifest for your life generally. And so I sit there and I spend anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes almost journaling, but it's like automatic writing about what's the day. And kind of
Mhm.
I include gratitudes into that as well, about thank you for all the things that have changed and shifted into that. And then I do a bit of Pilates into that. And when I am courageous, I then finish that off with a cold shower.
Yeah.
But
Now,
more ad hoc.
that's amazing. And the thing is, if you can do a bit of that, if you can just start that, because this is where we started. You know what you need to do. We all know what we need to do, right? But then we don't do it. Why is that? We know what's good for us, and we teach other people to do it, and then we don't do it. And it's really difficult to get into. Let's say a habit takes 27 days to form. I think it takes much longer than that. And I think we spoke about habit stacking, and just this main piece for me now when I'm doing my morning routine is, yeah, knowing that when I start, this is going to make my day so much better. Yeah. How do you think your energy is for the day now when you do your morning routines compared to when you don't? Can you really tell the difference?
Oh yeah, massive difference. Yeah, there's a massive difference, and almost to the point where I pick and choose which things are the most important thing to get through if I can't do the full routine.
For
So
sure.
so yesterday, circumstances being what they were, I got home from London at nearly midnight, and then I had to be somewhere early in the morning. And I going sleep's really important for me. Sleep, I actually, if I don't have enough sleep, I don't function. So I needed to balance the getting enough sleep, waking up in time to be ready to go out, and doing my morning routine.
Yeah.
So this morning I just did the meditation and the Wim Hof breathing, and then I think I just wrote out the three main choices. I didn't do any deeper writing work. It's like as long as I wrote down the three main choices, then I
And that's just it. We start the day with this whole piece of energy and how much energy we've got, right? We start the day with 100% energy as we open our eyes. And then we think about yesterday and we give 30% away to yesterday. And then we think about tomorrow, we give 30% away tomorrow. And yeah, one of the reasons that, yeah, the things that I do is it allows me to get into now and allows me to store my energy for today, which is so much more powerful, I think, for me anyway, when I'm actually just able to be focused, when I'm able to be present, then all those emotional things are gone away from yesterday. And I don't have to worry about tomorrow, because if I work on today better, if I do my best today, then tomorrow's going to look after itself. So now you're going through, and we're now at this process where you're doing your social media and we're doing a podcast, yeah, we're moving forward. How do you see the future playing out? You've actually got a course that's coming up at the beginning of January, and you're filling that up. And you do a couple of things. You work with clients, but you also teach people now. So tell me about the teaching part of it, because I think that's really interesting and exciting.
teaching it is the kinesiology, so it's based on the Kinesiology Association's training course. So it's a fairly set curriculum, which is there's a foundation level, which is open to anybody. So you can be a layperson with zero experience whatsoever of anything in the health world, but it's also suitable for people who are already qualified and say nutritionists or physiotherapists, massage therapists, all of that, who want to add more skills. And we take them from the journey basically right from the start of like how to test a muscle, and then actually when you get a result in your muscle testing, what does that mean, and then how to layer the corrections on it. Because in a way we always think of kinesiology, oh, it's muscle testing, but muscle testing is just the question, right? Then it's what's the answer. And then within kinesiology we draw upon most other therapies to build up a balance. So we draw on chiropractic, we draw on osteopathy, we draw on acupuncture, we draw on Bach flower remedies. There's neurolinguistic programming. There's all sorts of things that get, and actually that's then becomes the beauty. You can take it where you want once you're fully qualified, and you can go deeper, diver into any different aspect. So the first part of the foundation is 6 months. It's one weekend a month, and then in between each weekend you do case studies and answer a few questions to help you embed the information. But it's all about practice and practical and actually feeling the body and learning the energy of the body. And after 6 months, you are able, if you're a lay person, you're just able to work on friends and family.
Yeah.
That point onwards. But if you're already a qualified practitioner, you can then incorporate it into your existing practice. And then the second stage then is there's an in-between module called Module 7, which is for lay people who want to be a sort of semi-practitioner, and they can charge a nominal fee. So we do an extra module where they're then qualified for that. And then we have the diploma level, which is a year's course. So it's 12 weekends where we then take you into much more the deeper level of the practitioner work. On top, once you get to diploma level, really, then you also have to have your anatomy and physiology, and you do have to have a nutritional qualification to go with it to get your final diploma. So I teach that right from foundation right up to the end of diploma level. Eventually, we'll start exploring CPD options. And yeah, that's
Yeah, that's amazing, because now when we started working together, what are we actually doing? Who are we selling to? What's our ICP, our ideal customer profile? How do we get in front of them? And I seem to recall someone being very reluctant to get onto social media and very reluctant to get the videos out there and do things. And this is something that so many people suffer with. It's like, I want to go out. And business owners are great, because I love business owners from the point of view that they see a problem in the world. They've suffered a problem, they find a solution, and then they go and present this problem to the world. And in order to be able to do that, we actually need to get in front of the camera. We actually need to learn how it is that people want to receive this information. So we started this journey now a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, and you've been dabbling in and out of it for a while. What would be some advice you would give to someone, to actually get going and start moving on this?
I think don't make it too complicated, because when I first started dabbling in it, I actually had a social media person come in, and I paid her some money or whatever, with the idea that I thought she was going to write the material for me. And instead, what she did is she came in and she gave me a calendar and said, right, every day write this and this. And I was like, I actually haven't got time and space in my life to write like that at the time, because, yeah, lots of things going on. So it didn't happen. And I think for a lot of people who are professional marketers and very into it, they create like a whole month's plan or a whole quarter's plan, or this is when I'm going to do my next campaign, and this is when and for me, I didn't have the space and time to think that far ahead to make that kind of content. And actually, again, I didn't either also have the budget for it specifically. So
Yeah.
in a way, it was like I needed something really simple, which is like actually think about only posting 2 or 3 times a week. Have a really structured, this is how I use kinesiology every day. This is a myth that there is about kinesiology. This is how, the training course can help you. And you just have 3 posts, keep it simple, keep it like that. But actually, suddenly what I've found is that because I was always so overwhelmed, it didn't happen. But because I suddenly had a focus, that I have something to promote that needed to be out there, the words have started to flow. Necessity is the mother of invention. It's all started flowing, and I have been posting almost every day. I've got a little list on my phone of things that I want to say and posts that I can make and things like that. But I pulled out somebody's sheet again recently, and it was like, then you have your post, and you have your calendar of your post, and then you have your email marketing strategy, and then you have your video blog, and then you have your blog, and all of these kind of things. And I looked at that and I said, I still can't do that.
Okay. Just start. When you came to my place, we did the Wim Hof workshop, and that point where you're standing in front of the ice bath, right, and you now have to get in it. And let's face it, it's an overwhelming thing, right? It's a massively overwhelming thing. Your mind is screaming at you, saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." Yeah, and my favorite part of that is I'll say, I'll set it up and I'll say, okay, step, and go. Yeah. And when you turn off your mind and you just do that, Suddenly you get momentum, and then you realize, actually, I can do this. And this is what you're saying here. You start, just start. Because once you start, momentum will come. And when you start, we spoke a lot about this. Initially, you're going to be shit, right? It's not going to be great. And that's okay. Because initially, nobody's looking at you because no one's actually here. And as you go through and you change and you adjust and you do things in a different way, you learn and you start getting some depth in your posts. And I've already seen that with yours, even in this very short amount of time. People are responding, people react, and you've got some leads in from it, and you're having conversation with people. So it's amazing. And as you go through this next stage, I really can see this being a foundation of where you're going. So then we started talking a lot about the business structure. Yeah, and again, what an overwhelming thing that is. It's so overwhelming because we're a symbol. Often we start off and we're a single person doing the work of a whole organization. But no matter what company you're running, this whole organization piece is there, right? You have to be the leader, you have to be the marketer, you have to be the salesperson, you have to be the operations person delivering it. Then you have to be the accounts person. Oh, and just put the admin person in there, and there's the executive assistant. All these things have to be done. And what we end up doing is we do the things we like. We do the things we find easy. And we don't think too much about the things we don't like. Yeah. And suddenly at some point, that just becomes a glass ceiling you can't break through. So we started doing the BOS stuff, the boss up stuff, and just looking through that. How have you found that in terms of opening up your mind?
Certainly getting through that block of what do I say and what do I write and how do I structure it and stuff like that, using ChatGPT has been quite beneficial. It like really just clicked, and then it was like, okay, this makes sense. And what I have worked out over the kind of time we've been working is that whereas ChatGPT is quite good for giving me springboard ideas, it doesn't really know my language yet. I haven't trained it enough to know my language. Basically, I can't get it to write for me. And I actually like the process of writing. And I'm very much somebody who takes a piece of paper and a pen and I write it out. So yes, but it's kickstarts the creativity. It kickstarts the ideas. It gets through that, what they call writer's block, right? And that often is the stress. And obviously the stress is the bit, which then is the thing that blocks us anyway, is because stress shuts down and we go into lizard brain, right?
For sure, yeah. Crocodile mind. So what's the future? You've got this course that's coming up in the beginning of January, if I remember correctly. You're starting to get more clients in, but you're also taking yourself out of being too much of the bottleneck everywhere. And yeah, where do you see yourself in the first 6 months next year?
I've got a foundation course starting on the 3rd of January, potential for a diploma level course also starting either end of January or beginning of March, because I might go away in February, which is very exciting for me. And yeah, but then building on that, because I think the next stage of it is that the other piece of work that I've been doing in the background is creating a set of packages for individual clients and getting the individual client packages together. I have lots and lots of ideas, but I have worked out that you have to pace yourself. So I'd love to run a retreat. I'd love to run workshops. I'd love to do all of those kind of things. But I do know that you have to walk before you can run. And I'm already doing a fair amount in getting strategies into place and things like that. And I still have to manage the family life.
Yep, yeah. The real life comes into it, for sure.
And it's that kind of thing of being superwoman actually is a burnout.
So just trying to pace yourself, just trying to make sure you're doing. We'll talk a bit more about the vision, and we've done a bit of that. But yeah, what do you do? Because a vision is a big, hairy thing. It's like, oh, big, hairy, audacious goal. This is amazing. But then, what do I do this week that takes me to that vision? What's the one thing that I can do? And just breaking it down into those modules is good. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been awesome chatting, and we want to catch up again in a few months' time and see how you're getting on. Where can people get hold of you if they're interested in either your course or seeing you for the work that you do?
So they can visit my website, integral-health.co.uk. That's my website. Or they can find me on social media as Auro Integral Health, all one word.
Magic. And I'll put all those contact details below there. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. It's been amazing chatting, and looking forward to hearing more about your journey.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Roy.
Thanks for listening to Power Movers, the podcast from All the Power, where our mission is to help business owners reclaim their time, reset their energy, and live the life they love. If this episode sparked something for you, your next step is simple. Take the fit check at allthepower.co.uk. It's a short clarity tool that helps you see where you are, what's getting in the way, and what might be possible if you have the right system. When you're ready, come and join the tribe. Power movers start with our signature framework called Elevate 360, a system built to help you escape survival mode, create structure, and move forward with power. Just remember, everything we share here is based on real stories, experience, and frameworks. It's not personal business advice. Always speak to a coach or advisor before making big decisions. Because in the end, it's about more than business. It's about building a life that you actually love. I'm Roy Castleman, and I'll see you in the next episode.